Nick.
Hey, fellas.
Hey.
Hey,
Mac. Hey.
what's up?
It's great to
Welcome
see you
back.
guys. Great to see you guys.
Great to see you. How are you, dude?
We're hanging in there. Hanging in there. Been better. Been better. But so I live in Los Angeles. For those who don't know, very close to where some fires happened and started right next to the Palisades. So I was out of my house for like 10 days. Just got home yesterday. Lucky to have a home. At the same time, it's like, is it safe to be in this home? It's very weird and eerie and sucked. But also, like, loved hearing from a ton of you and, like, very much appreciate that. And, like, man, the Jayhawks can really be a great distraction when needed, unless they're playing at Iowa State. That's not a good distraction.
That wasn't a good
That
distraction.
can send you into further spiral.
Babe, this will be great. We cannot think about the fires and everything going on in our lives for 2 hours.
Then I'm just muttering to myself for 2 hours, yelling, talking about nothing. But no, it's great to be back here and happy to be back in my home and lucky to have it and good to be back in Los Angeles.
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, that stuff is
We're
scary.
happy. We're happy to hear it. And we've been thinking about you. So good
I
to have you
appreciate
back.
it.
Good to get back to this. KU over the last week has given us a little bit of everything. The K-State game on Saturday was one of the weirdest games of the season. There were 4 different times I thought they were just going to put them away and win by 25 points. And they'd be up by 13, and then a nice little 7-0 run. You look up, and it's a 6-point game, and they go on another little run, and then it get back to like 13-14, and then K-State would get back into it. Iowa State game was dreadful, and that was very reminiscent of the Creighton game. It was reminiscent of the Mizzou game. But sitting here now with 6 conference games under their belt, 4-2, I know that it feels like we're kind of rehashing a lot of the same stuff with this team. Like, hey, this guy should play more. This guy should play less. Why isn't Bill doing this? What's going on? Et cetera, et cetera. My take right now is that this is a good team. This is a good basketball team. This is a national championship contending basketball team. It looks weird, and I thought it was going to look different than this when the roster was constructed in the offseason. And I don't think they're the best team in the country like we thought they would be before the year. I still think this team has the makings of being a Final Four team, and I feel like, for whatever reason, that's not a popular opinion right now. So I wanted to start with that I think Kansas is a national championship Final Four caliber team.
Wow. Mike, you want to go next?
I just didn't see that coming. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're planting our flag early.
I can
and saying-
elaborate if you guys want.
You're saying like, where exactly are you falling on this? Good team. What does that mean?
I think that
You said Final Four championship.
if you
said
say
that,
let's just start here. How many national championship caliber teams are there, Nick? Let's just put that out there.
Okay.
I don't have to name them. I just need a number.
Well, I have to name them to get to a number. So I'm going to say like 6, maybe 7.
Okay.
And I think KU might be the 6th or 7th best team in the country right now. And it's as simple as that. I think we have a tendency to get in the weeds with our own teams and look at all the issues with them as opposed to looking at every other team in the country and saying, what's going to happen if they face that team? What's going to happen if I get it. Iowa State's probably in that 6 or 7, and it didn't look good in Ames. Fortunately, like you're not going to have to go play Iowa State in Ames again this season.
I don't think Ames was that bad until the last 5 minutes. That like it got away from them. They were pretty damn competitive. They had that thing down to 3 until like a bad AJ Store 3.
Yeah, but
Like, they were in that game.
either. Like let's not.
That's gonna be KU style. Like that's their
Understood. Like, but
they were bad.
I don't think we got their best shot either in that game.
No,
I mean, I agree with your take that like KU can beat any of these teams. They beat Duke, who's one of the best 3-4 teams in the country. Michigan State is like pretty damn good, by the way. They're 16-2. They had a good win today. I think 16-2.
Yeah, they're top 15 KenPom team.
Yeah. Like they've had some like pretty damn high quality wins. I think there are certain styles that will just like make it so they can't win. Or like certain styles they probably can't beat. But like generally, yeah, I think they're good enough to go to the Final Four. You don't need like a ton, like you just need a good break and a decent matchup, and they're there. I don't think right now though that I've seen a Final Four team
Okay.
the way that they've trended lately.
Okay, here's my
I'm right
reasoning.
down the middle.
Here's my reasoning for this. Since conference play started, or really even going back to just the UCF game, if we want to push aside the West Virginia game, KU has been an elite defensive team. Basically, since Shaq Moore came into the rotation, this team
Best
has
in the
been
country.
transformed defensively. So, what do you need to go on a run in March?
Offense.
You need to have a calling card. First off, you need to have something that you can hang your hat on game in, game out. And I think we thought this was going to be like offensive this season based off the roster reconstruction. We thought this team was going to be predicated on offense, knowing Hunter's going to be your 5-man. You don't have like an elite rim protector. KU has transformed themselves into an elite defensive team. You have two guys in Hunter and Zeke who are playing at like an All-American top 10, top 15 player in the country level. To go on a run in March, I think this team needs one other guy. Like I don't care at all about like the KJ conversation, about who should be playing more. Should Ryland be playing more? Do they need AJ? I don't really care. They need one more guy because they have two guys on any given night who can give you 25 and they have an elite defense. I don't care what concerns anybody has. Like, let's just talk facts. Those are facts. Is anybody going to dispute that? That they don't have an elite defense? That they don't have two guys who can give you 25 on a given night? All you need is one more dude. One more dude who can give you 12 to 15 a night. And, like, that's what it takes to go on a run in March. I know it's not pretty right now. I know most people aren't happy right now. But, like, tell me where I'm wrong.
I think you're right in that we've got two guys who can do 25. They have only been good in spurts though, like especially Hunter. Like he has looked really, really bad in some spots. And then against K-State, magically he looked like the best I've ever seen him play. Like literally, that stretch in the second half was the best Hunter I've ever seen. I don't know about
some space. It's the only time we've had that in
and
his
you can
KU
go
career.
there if you want. You can go there if you want.
It's just
But-
it is what it is.
But then we also looked like shit on defense in the second half too. So pick your poison. Do you want KJ in there to help on defense, or do you want Hunter to have space to operate on offense? I don't know. But the only sense of optimism I have is the same optimism I had to start the year, which is the pieces should make sense. Like, and the only other piece I think that's new to me is that we have one other alpha, and I didn't know who it was going to be, but we know who it is. So, Nick, I'm with you on that. Like, it's very clear who our two guys are, but the pieces haven't really worked all that great so far, and we're running out of time. So, I want it to work. I'm with you, but I got to see a little more before I say we're national championship contender. And defense, by the way, does travel. I'm with you, but defense gets you there, but I don't know if you win a championship with it. You got to have more.
Yeah, I've been doing some research today, and defense, basically like adjusted offense, adjusted defense before the tourney. In like the last 3-4 years, I haven't put it all together, but like there's a pretty clear change where like you can get there with an elite offense and not an elite defense. Like the sample size is small, but like that is where it's been trending, like pretty heavily, like geared toward offense. And when we talk about like, I guess I did go there, so I'll address it quickly. The Hunter being as good as you've seen in the second half, but the defense being about as bad as we've seen this year there for some spurts. I actually think the difference that in the second half against K-State, and generally against Kansas State, who's really bad, by the way, is that the defense was fixable in ways that I'm not sure the offense is. They had guys make some mistakes about how they were doubling Coleman Hawkins, and like he basically got a zillion assists there of like passing guys for pretty much like 100% chance field goal like percentage, like wide open layups. Because they were doubling in like the wrong spots. It was it's why KJ Adams plays, like because he wouldn't mess that up, like doubling Coleman way away from the paint. But I do think it's correctable. I don't think that the way KU had been playing with that full team, with the minutes, the rotation, the offense was fixable. So like I do think that's problematic. I don't know exactly the solution, I guess it's like play in the middle. It's what we've been saying the whole time. It doesn't have to be all one way or the other.
We also don't feel
I think you should be more specific with that, with what you just said, Mike.
KJ Adams, where people are like, I don't want KJ, or like, no, KJ plays hard, which is like in plays good defense, or defense is better with him. I'm just saying, like, you know what? KU probably would have been in better shape with 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 15 minutes of KJ Adams. That's what we've been saying. And I think that's probably the answer, like, going forward. But I don't know that we'll see it.
So I guess what I think
So I went there. I immediately went there.
What I think the separation is between where I'm at and where you guys might be, or where most people are, is I don't think this team is that far away from figuring out maybe not perfect answers, but some Band-Aids to fix their issues. And I feel like the overwhelming sentiment on this team is that they have glaring issues that are not fixable. And that's where I disagree.
I don't know that anyone said not fixable, because I think a lot of people have opinions on how to fix it. I mean, but I don't know if they're right. But I think a lot of people that
we can get into
believe that we have dudes. I don't think anyone can contest that we don't have a roster of pieces that should, in the perfect world, be put together into the right puzzle to win a championship, or at least be super competitive for one. It's just, I haven't really seen it. Like, and I said it for a second, but when you have Shaq on the floor, and I like Shaq a lot, he has helped us literally find an identity for this team, which, Nick, I'm right there with you. Like, number one Ken Palm defense over the last whatever, like, you know, they look good on defense. But when you have him, you have one, and we'll call it KJ, but if KJ isn't on the floor, then Wing, who also can't score.
Yeah,
it's hard to find points, and you can't put it all on those two guys.
KU has not put stress on the defense. This is an issue. Like, I think they're easy to prep for.
Exactly.
That can hurt an attorney. And they've been playing, the defense has not been playing behind them or having to react to KU. KU's constantly has the defense in front of them, which has been a problem. So I do think it's fixable, but like, they have got to start making life harder for their opponents, putting stress on the defense that they're playing, because the stress has been entirely on them offensively.
And Bill said something like, I would never have guessed before the season that Zeke Mayo would be the guy who's able to get to the free throw line on this team. Like, literally, he said that. Like, so he's clearly just saying it out, like the quiet part out loud. Like, I have a bunch of guys who are not able to get to the rim and not able to play athletic, like not able to play to their athleticism. I haven't seen one. I mean, Shaq does, but he's not a scorer.
Flory?
Right.
And Flory. Yeah.
Flory, the answer?
Flory's entire game is athleticism.
Two guys who weren't starting to start the year.
Right. It's classic.
And like,
by the way,
I mean, I do think we should start Flory, but I don't know. Is that the team? Is that what you maybe?
Okay, so I see all the comments coming in, and this is like, I knew we were going to discuss this because it's all I see when I'm on Twitter during games. But Self has too quick of a hook. This guy needs to start. Rotations have to get better. You have the pieces, right? But they suddenly toast. When the pieces of the puzzle don't fit, but they should, do you blame the puzzle pieces or do you blame the manufacturer? It is this conversation around Bill Self. It's not about KJ. It's not about Rylan or AJ. It is about, why isn't Bill Self playing the guy I want to see play more? Why isn't Bill Self going to the answer that we can all see? Because that's what the conversation has sort of devolved into, which is, the answer's obvious. You have to play Rylan Griffin more. You have to play AJ Storr more. Why isn't Bill doing it? And it turns into this conversation about, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of times I've seen this over the last decade, is you get on Twitter during a game and say, hey, listen, Bill Self's a great coach. All right. Hall of Famer. One of the best ever. Like, whenever someone starts doing that, you're like, okay, I know what you're about to say. But he's not without his faults. But he is stubborn. And every time I see that, I'm like, okay, so this is what success looks like in college basketball. He is the best coach in the nation. Full stop. He's the best. It doesn't get better than this. And frankly, during my lifetime, I've witnessed 2 national championships. Like, this is it. This is what success looks like. And with those national championships, in between them, a lot of forgettable seasons, a lot of early round exits on teams that you thought were going to make deeper runs. And then you look back on them a few years later and you say, yeah, you know what? In hindsight, we kind of knew that wasn't a national championship caliber team. But you get out at the end of it and you look at the totality and, like, he's the best. This is it. And so to have to take the stance of, like, yeah, I just kind of trust he's going to figure it out. And for that take to be met with, like, what are you smoking? I want whatever you're on. To be the guy who has to defend the best coach in college basketball and say, I don't know, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. That's a good spot to be in, I feel. I feel comfortable being in the corner of, like, I'm just going to trust that he's going to push some buttons and some shit's going to get fixed. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means Flory's going to start playing 25 minutes a game. I don't know if it means that Rylan Griffin's going to start being in the starting rotation and KJ is going to go down. I don't know. I don't know what that final form of this team looks like, but I'll die on this hill. I'll die on the hill that, like, yeah, he's like one of the greatest to ever do it. And taking the stance of, like, I trust him. It feels like a safe spot. It feels like a safe spot to be in.
It's different. This is a different world. I agree with you. Everything you said, Nick, you're 100% right. But the one thing that's different is that this team is built in a new era. Like, usually you don't have 8-9 guys that you could theoretically point to and say we got 8 or 9 starters. Usually the Bill Self roster is set up with freshmen and sophomores who are going to be good and going to be the guys in a year or two. But this is the weird year for the first time. Not last year. There were not those two pieces last year. Like, you could get mad at Bill Self last year, but it wasn't because you wanted to see more name your player. Like, this is the only year it feels like we've had this problem. Like, you don't hear this. Like, go back in time. How many times have you heard Bill Self complaints about, I really want you to play more, other than, like, okay, pick Remy. Like, Remy's a good one, but
he pushed the right buttons on that one.
And so this is the one.
So did I.
Yeah, you did. This is the one weird one where I'm just not sure it's the same fix. But I agree with you in principle. Like, I'd rather be on your side too. But it's the only thing that's a little different is these are not dudes he recruited in high school.
So I want to talk about the portal thing, and Kyle says it too. I think I've said this. I've had this take, like, we need to talk about Bill kind of shit since the transfer portal, right? It is a different era. The portal era has also coincided with, like, Bill being pretty loyal to Dewan, KJ, and Hunter. And so it's like, we don't know if it's a loyalty thing right now in that given a year, it's going to look a lot different next year. Probably.
Yeah.
It should. So like, we don't really know. I do think Self has struggled with transfers, or we've talked about like, it takes transfers time to get comfortable. I've said this a million times, like dating back to Malik Newman, Remy, even Kevin McCullough in his first year. Like, look at his numbers. They really, like, offensively took a step later in the year, his first year, before he stopped playing. And like, that is something he's going to have to, I do think is a real concern and that he's going to have to work through. But at the same time, it's like, is it the portal, or is it he's going to be loyal with these guys who he knows won't double Coleman in the wrong spot and give up a layup on the other side? Like, when you watch some of those plays, it is like, well, that's why the other guys play, because Griffin and Storr and Flory at times, Flory's a freshman, like no big, like honestly, it's not a big deal. Have just made mistakes that like he will not let them play through. So I get it. I think frankly, like Storr's, the real thing here is like Storr's been really disappointing, probably to the staff and KU fans. He hasn't been very good. Like, that's just kind of it to date. In Rylan, I think has come along slower than they would have expected. Like, those two things have led to the spot that we're in now. And that's why he's gone to the other guys. Has it been mismanaged at times? Like, maybe, yeah. But like you said, they still are top 10 in Ken Palm. Like, not that bad. And it probably is what success looks like. A top 10 Ken Palm team where everyone's pissed. Like, it is kind of crazy. I don't know. I talked about a lot of things.
Well, with the portal stuff, because that's interesting, and we've talked about it a bunch. Like, can the way that Bill Self has coached for 30 years, can that still be a successful, like, coaching philosophy in the portal era? And I don't know if we know the answer to that. Like, right? That's why guys like Jay Wright and Krzyzewski and Roy, they all got out. But with Bill, it's two different conversations about what you want to happen or what you think should happen versus like what's going to happen. And part of me doesn't even want to waste time talking about, at least right now, like in the middle of the season, talk about what should happen, because Bill's not changing ever. You don't have as much success as he's had in this industry and think that like in year 30, you know what, I'm going to totally fucking flip my entire philosophy on its head. You didn't earn it. Don't care. You're the best. That's fine. You can play now. Like, it's just like, you know, your grandma makes a pie the same way for 40 years. She's not switching up the recipe because you saw something on TikTok. You
Grandma?
know? Like, hey, like, try this. It just, so
Happy place.
he's not going to change. And part of me, like, from a very fundamental point of view, I love that. And I think that's why every KU fan has loved about Bill, is that, like, you know, you're gonna earn it. I know you may come in here and you want it to be easy. Like, you want me to just hand you shit, but I'm never gonna do it. It's always gonna be the hard road when you play for this coach. It's always gonna be hard. You're always gonna have to earn it. But he knows, or at least like his philosophy is like, if you're willing to battle through that, you will come out the other side better. And if you don't, well, then we're not going to win anyway. And we're not going to win if I would have handed it to you either. And I feel like sometimes people on the couch have the same idea of like, let's just give it to these guys. Just give Rylan the minutes. Just give AJ the minutes. They're better. We know it. It's a better fit. Just make them, just let them play. And it's not the way he operates. It's not the way he's ever going to operate. And part of me says, like, I don't really want him to change. Like, do you honestly, like, for everybody who says, oh, he's stubborn, he's just so stubborn to a fault sometimes, do you actually want this Hall of Fame coach to change now after the success he's given you for the past 2 decades? Do you want him to change, truthfully?
With this roster,
I want him to shoot more threes.
With this roster, like, it's pretty bad. It really is. In conference play, they're like working with like the 80th offense, the number 1 defense. I get it, but like, man, like it just, again, these pieces, when we talk about that, like they should be probably playing fast. It would benefit everyone except their highest percentage player is Hunter, who like doesn't really play fast, and AJ like can't. It's just he needs to like kind of have the ball in his hands and a chance to create, but the rest of the roster needs like really quick ball movement and like basically going back and forth from side to side to create lanes or get a post touch. Like it doesn't, like they just don't work together, and he hasn't been able to get the other guys to buy into that. And are you gonna go down? Like, do you really think? Do you think at the end of the year there's gonna be one of those like retroactive, which is like this wasn't a Final Four team? Because you said that does happen, and I'm like, I don't know. And so do I want him to change? It's like maybe
Yeah,
this
but we
year.
do that. But we do that every year. They don't make the Final Four, with the exception of like 2010 and 2017.
That's true.
Like those are the only real years I look back on and say, like, damn, they were the best team in the country, and they just lost early. But every other, like 2014, 2015, 2016, 2019, 2021, like all those years, you were like, yeah, they weren't the best team in the country.
Do you feel like? Well, that's true. Have they been like? I guess you won the championship in 2020, but that team kind of struggled during the year, and it's like, what do we think? Like, the trend I think has been probably troubling, but then again, it's like, yeah, 2016 team was lethal. Stand corrected, Nick. I think you said 17, but do you mean 16?
No, 2017 with Josh Jackson and Frank Mason Nash. Yeah, when Frank was player of the
That
year.
era was good. Yeah, I don't like.
So the retroactive. I'm just
that.
saying the retroactive game. It's like, yes, if they don't win the title, and it's the same game we would have played if they wouldn't have won in 2022 when they weren't the best team in the country, but they won the title anyway. But if they would have lost at any point before the national championship game, we would have said, yeah, checks out.
Tournaments are weird though, dude. Like, let's not go crazy with tournaments. Like,
But that's how we judge success, man. Like this, it's the barometer.
Final Four is one thing. Like, winning it all is hard. Get me to a Final Four.
That's kind of my baseline too. I do think they're good enough to go to a Final Four, but I think they kind of got to get lucky. I think there's like a very clear style. Like they play a long athletic team. It's going to look like what we've seen every year in every offseason. It's like, we got to fix it. And he can't quite bring himself to do it, or he hasn't been able to do it with these guys. I think you've seen it some with recruiting, especially in the front court. Like they have gone toward athletic bigs.
It's time.
The last year, like this year, they made that change, and they were recruiting a guy like who was the top center available at Eric Reeb or whatever. He can shoot, at least skilled big, and they like pivoted hard away from that. And I was like, that's interesting. I think they were like, no, we want rim running bigs again who can protect it. Like they got together this year, probably around practice time, and decided like, yeah, we're not doing that again.
I think honestly, if I'm not as much judging Bill for like what's going on right now mid-season, I would retroactively look back on the roster construction in the offseason and say like, and really even going back 2 years to say Hunter Dickinson was available. He was the best player in the country. You went out and got him as you should have. But everything that happened after that has been a whiff. Everything that happened after that. You got the best player in the country and you have failed to put the ideal roster around him. And even if you say, well, hey, the pieces are there. Rylan and AJ was a mistake. Okay?
AJ was a mistake.
AJ Storr was a mistake. Anybody who had done a lick of research on him could have told you that exactly what you're getting was on the table, if not likely. With Rylan, it's like Rylan still has a ceiling that I think he could hit this year.
I like Rylan.
But the ceiling is
He's
like
playing above him.
But again, the ceiling for Rylan is like, yeah, he'll knock down shots, and that's pretty much it. Like he's a floor spacer, but he's not going to rebound. He doesn't really defend at a high level. He's not a good ball mover. He's just a shooter, which is fine.
I think
that's what you recruited him to be. But now that he's here, you're like, yeah, but we need a little more. We need a little more than just shooting.
I think he feels like that's what he has to do here. I think if you go back and watch some of his highlights at Alabama, like he kind of played above the rim. Like he actually probably second best vertical on our team. Third.
I don't.
I don't. I mean, Flory 1, Shaq 2, Rakis 3. I don't know. But you know what?
What do you think his vertical is? Just right now. Just throw a number out. Rylan Griffin.
I have no clue.
I saw this the other day. That's why I said it.
31.
37. At
Pretty
6.
good.
Really?
At 6'6".
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
You know-
one of those guys that I think has been like head fucked a bit.
I think he's totally been.
I'm
You
thinking
play head
back-
games, sometimes you get head fucked.
And
Now
he's
that-
Bill did that. Sorry, Nick. You go.
Well, no, I'm just like, this has got me thinking back to that offseason interview that Bill did with Seth Davis. And he was getting sort of like into the weeds about what happened at the end of last year and knowing that they basically only had 5 guys they could play and trying to find ways to play all those guys 36 minutes, but only keep them on the court together and how much of a mind fuck it was. And that when they went into the offseason, they basically knew that we're recruiting more guys than we can play, but that I'd rather, he said this, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I would rather have that problem than ever have to deal with what we dealt with last year. And now you're seeing the flip side of that coin, of that problem, as he's trying to figure out, like, we got more guys than we can play, and I don't really want to play this guy, even though I know we kind of need to play this guy, but I'm not going to do it until I feel like he's earned the spot. So it's like, it's a different issue, but the net is basically the same, which is
he's got to
can't figure this shit out.
He's got to figure it out. Like, time's ticking.
Yeah. Will he?
Nick says yes. Nick says
Yeah, I say yes.
Nick says he's 100% faith that it's
But if
all-
I say yes and they go to the Elite Eight and lose, does that make me wrong? Does that
No.
mean that they didn't figure it out?
honestly,
No. I think if they get to the Elite Eight at this point, like KU fans will take that. All right, they're ranked 7th in KenPom, though. I'm just saying, like, realistically, you're ranked 7th. I'm not saying you're happy about it, but as far as like a course correction, like that's probably about right.
it is the
They're-
7th best KenPom.
Right. That's probably about right. So, like, I wouldn't be like swallowing some shit second round loss or getting shit pumped by 20 again. Which, by the way, what's up with the blowouts? We talked about that earlier. Does anyone have a take on why that happens? Because I don't have a clue.
Mentally,
Well, when you, I don't know if it's,
you lose by 20, you're mentally weak with that roster. Have some, like,
I do love this take. I actually love this take.
Soft.
if you're losing by 20 points with a preseason number 1 team with all these pieces, like, what are we doing? Go foul someone hard. Go get back in the game.
Well, okay. So I love this actually. I love this conversation.
agree.
And somebody just said, this team isn't built to play from behind. And so what I think is, like, this team is never going to be 2008, 2010, where it's like, hey, if they're on their A game, you're just not beating them. That's not going to be this Kansas team. This Kansas team is going to win in a very specific way. And so my optimism is that this new identity that they're trying to establish of, like, play elite defense and just do enough offensively, if you can get really good at that, then you can be a difficult out. But also you are susceptible to getting the shit kicked out of you.
By
One of those, by anybody, because if one of those things goes wrong, one of those things where you're not playing elite defense on a given night, or you are, but you can't buy a bucket, that's how you lose, like you lost to Iowa State on
That's
Wednesday.
16 over a 1 shit. Like, yeah, that I don't like being on that side of the.
The offense has been, it's just fucked.
It makes no sense. That's the
It
thing.
it doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. None.
So
This is where
Can
I
you
think-
elaborate on it more? Like, what doesn't make sense to you? Because I think this is how a lot of KU fans feel watching it.
Well, okay, time out. It does make sense when you see that Nate and Juan and Shaq are all playing together. Like, you can look at that and go, how are we going to score? That's fair. That's fair. But the point is, you don't have to do that. No one's got a gun to your head saying that those are the three guys you have to play for 35 minutes. No one is. So my point is,
Again,
you got to decide who you want to be, right? And they've sort of made the call that we want to be this kind of defensive oriented, tough nosed team, which is fine.
so predictable.
But you can be both. Like, there's a world where you can kind of be good at both.
Yeah.
And they're not committed to being good at both, to me.
Well, yeah, that's the ideal world. That's the perfect world where they're good at both.
I know, but they're not trying to be. I don't think they're trying to be.
I don't think they've focused on it at all.
Like, everyone thought this team was going to score like crazy, and like defense was going to be a problem. Like, that's what this team was.
Yeah.
That's how people.
Yeah, that's what they were saying this off.
That was
yes.
the take. And I was all about it. I was like,
Bill-
cool. Don't
too.
give a shit. Score 100 every night. I don't care.
So if you want to talk about like Bill Self, like IQ a million, being able to turn the worst preseason hopes for a defensive team into the number one defense, pretty impressive. Yes. Built the pieces right. Yes. Now go figure out how to score too. Like, you can do both. I think it's important to do both in basketball. Important. Find ways to score baskets. We keep saying we want to make the other team play bad. Like, okay, you can play good too while the other team's playing bad. Like,
In fact, putting stress on them offensively would probably make them play a little worse.
that helps. That helps.
'Cause it just hasn't happened. Like, I think they're pretty easy to prep for. I think even, well, I guess they've gotten better defensively. Like I was going to say, like, they got it probably pretty easy to prep for even on the other side. But they
Zeke Mayo threes. Like, that's kind of the thing that makes whether we are a winning game by 15 or 3. Like,
Dude.
that's the difference. Like, what are we doing? If he doesn't make 5 threes, then we're going to win by 3.
or lose by 25.
Or lose by-
Mhm.
You know what's so
15.
you know
Is
what's
that-
so funny? You know what's so funny about Zeke is, like, since 2018, maybe I'm missing someone, but like basically since Devontae, every single year we're just like, if only we had a guy who could get his own shot. Just go get your own bucket. And now they finally have it, and it's on like the worst offensive team at Kansas in the past decade. You finally got the thing you've been asking for, and it doesn't matter.
I don't think he actually is. Like, let's not get it twisted. This guy is not an offensive creator, like get whatever he wants kind of guy. He is an in rhythm shooter, and he can kind of get around his guy to get fouled. Like, this is not he needs help to get to the rim. But
To
he's
get to
good.
the rim,
when you
yes.
can-
He can
right,
get
but
his
when you
shot
can-
off.
But yeah, well, you can get your shot off from 6 feet behind the arc
Understood.
and with confidence. Like, that's kind of the game.
Those things are true. But I just didn't want to make sure we're not
Take.
saying this dude is some like, okay, go ahead.
What if no one else shoots? Only Zeke.
I'm in. Let him
We're
shoot.
probably better
Yeah.
off.
I'd rather him shoot 15 threes than anybody else. Like, I'm actually fine with that.
Like playing like one of those D3 schools where one guy just takes 33s and
Why not? I'm surprised we don't. That actually,
I'm in.
Remember that old Reddit take about Steph Curry? Like, what if
Yes.
the other 4 guys just formed a circle around him and he shot on every possession?
Oh, that's so good. That's really good.
No, I'm all in on that. Yeah, 100%. Sign me up. All the way.
Like,
It's the most efficient shot we have, except for a Flory dunk. Like, those are the 2 most efficient things we have on our team.
if one guy is going to save the season, become that third guy, Zeke in Hunter, is it Flory?
No, because I think even if Flory becomes like
raw.
the finalized version of whatever he can do this year, I don't think that's the best version of Kansas. It has to be Rylan to me.
Got to be Ryland. Could it be anyone else? Technically, I guess Storr. I'd be shocked, but
Ryland played 12 minutes against KC.
yeah, I don't get it, man.
So
He's
12 minutes. I think he had one shot. I haven't looked at his box.
Can we get into Rylan a little bit, because
yes.
I feel like we because it's
7-inch vertical.
because it's such an popular conversation, I feel like we just kind of like dance around it and we're just like, yeah, like Rylan needs to play more. But does anyone have like an actual good take as to what it is that he's not doing that the coaches want him to do?
I do. It
I have a
starts with
theory, but I want to know if you have like.
it starts with a D, and it ends with E-fence.
Guess
It
what?
rhymes with-
You can bring your phone.
It rhymes with Schmee-fence. What the fuck was that?
Sorry.
Anyone here? Okay, you're watching. You're
I was-
watching.
Ryland Griffin.
He's queuing up. He's queuing up RedTube for when the stream
Yeah.
wraps.
This is Red Tube. Watching him dunk.
This is RedTube. KU's defense over the course of the season, like looking at on-off, hasn't been that much worse with Rylan on. But in conference play, it's been like significantly worse. So it leads me to believe like crazy, like the on-off splits are really bad for him. But it's also like, well, who's he playing with is partly missing too. But it's got to be defense. Like he's just fucking up. That's the only thing that can possibly make sense. He's their worst on-off defensive guy in conference play. Yeah. Nope. AJ's worse. Never mind. AJ's they're 27 and a half points worse per 100 possessions with Storr on the court than when he's off. That's insane. Rylan is 22, but over the course of the year, it's not that bad. It's like 2 points for Rylan.
You know, with Rylan,
Crazy.
I told you this take over the weekend, Mike, but like my theory is with guys, not even specifically Rylan, but anybody who's in his shoes as a transfer and trying to steal someone else's minutes, make it undeniable.
Yeah.
Make it to where there is no conversation. He's better. Look at what he does when he's on the court. And with Rylan, it's just not. With Rylan, it is, did he make shots? Yes, he was good. Did he not? Then he made no impact. Because even with KJ, who everybody hates, against Iowa State,
Whoa.
what do you get? Like 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And it's like,
Right.
that's why he
gotten
plays,
better.
because he can make an impact without scoring, and Rylan doesn't, and AJ doesn't. And like that's my theory, is just that unless you can do anything other than like derive your value off how many shots you hit, you're not going to play here.
I'm watching
Make
Ryland
it.
just make every step.
Did you hear what Nick said? He just said they have to make it undeniable, and they haven't. And I agree, but some of the choices have just been like, I don't know. Like, it's been bizarre. If you really want to get into it, like the Diggy Quate minutes against Iowa State killed KU. That was like those were backbreaking over Rylan. Like that didn't make
Dude,
sense.
Diggy
to
and
me.
AJ are the exact same guy.
Get
One's just a foot taller.
No.
stop that.
They are. They're the same guy. It's just like
Neck
ooh,
loves Diggy.
Ooh, ball? Shoot.
They're not the same.
He plays defense.
Yeah, Diggy tries
Diggy
defensively.
Defense, Nick. Get out of
Cons-
here.
Why do you think Diggy has played? Like, because he's going to be consistent. He shows up every day.
Ball Hawks, yeah.
He shows up every day. That's why. Himself has made it pretty clear that the other guys haven't. And like, but at this point, what are we doing?
Diggy in conference play is shooting a
Oh,
two-thirds of a percent from 3
Yeah, it's crazy.
on 2.5 attempts per game.
Yeah, he's shot a lot. He's made 1. It's like
That's
It's really bad.
shocking. That is
It's really bad.
It's tough to be colder than Diggy has been the
What is-
last month.
I mean, just dead serious. I'm just hypothetical. What if you manufactured 18 3-point attempts between Zeke and Rylan a game? You just figure out a way to make sure those guys shoot that many threes. I don't care if they step back. I don't care if it's in rhythm. I don't care if it's they walk up the court and launch. If they, between those two, shot 18 threes a game for the rest of the way, is KU better?
Yeah.
Like they are.
How many did they shoot now?
I don't know, 10?
They Zeke shooting about 7 a game, and Rylan shooting 2.5.
Yeah, 10, 9.5, 10.
Yeah,
Double.
I'm on board with doubling it.
Double.
Yeah, double it.
Unquestionably, it's a better offense. Like you can't argue otherwise. I won't allow you to.
Okay.
But try. I mean, go for it.
I don't want to.
Try. You can't. But this is the thing that's just so baffling. Like, okay, then do it.
I would say that say that KU, even on the low amount of threes they are shooting per game, they're not making many of them. Like if you remove Zeke from the equation, it's like no one hits shots on
The
this
wrong
team.
people are shooting it. If you told Rylan, hey Rylan, you have the green.
Rylan's shooting. Rylan is shooting the three well. He's like pretty fucking high up in every category.
If you say Rylan, you're gonna shoot the ball 7 or 8 times this game from 3. Like we're gonna find ways to get you.
I will not get mad at you.
I will not get mad at you in any way. You don't think that makes him better and the team better? Like, just do it. Figure it out. Like, if we call him the best coach in basketball, you can't tell me they can't scheme a guy open for a freaking 3-pointer.
Okay, but you must admit, Mac, that the way that you're framing this discussion makes Bill Self sound like an absolute moron, right? That, like, the answer's so obvious to us. Why won't you do it, idiot?
I'm just asking the question. Do you think I asked you
No. Well, you asked and demanded.
And then you said you can't argue it. I won't allow it.
Well, tell me I'm wrong, I guess is the point. Like, do you believe that? Yes or no? Okay, then that's fine. You could say no and you'd be wrong, but I'd let you try to defend it.
I want to see it. I'm not convinced that it's like the answer, but I would like to try it at least.
I would like to try it at least.
But I think that's the stage we're at in the season where it's like, can we just try anything else? Just something that's not the way that you've been doing it.
So, Nick, have you been talked out of like kind of the take at the beginning, which is like, this is a championship contending team, or is it just like, but they're frustrating because the offense has been really bad?
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching the same team you guys are. I'm not watching this thinking like this is sick. I'm watching this saying like,
you're just sitting there like,
I see the vision.
Rock
I'm saying I see the vision. I see the path forward.
I do too.
And I trust.
What is it?
I trust the guy that's. I told you, like, the path is like, it's not pretty. Like, that's the thing. The answer is not like the sexy answer of like, they figure it all out. They're raining threes. This offense is unstoppable and they're playing elite defense. That's not happening. Like, we have to remove that from the range of outcomes here. The range of outcomes to me is pretty narrow, which is you continue to try to be the best defensive team in the country. And you need one of these other dudes to step up, become a threat offensively, and then hope that your March run is predicated on shutting everybody down and doing enough on offense.
So that's
and hope that you don't
30 a game when he comes back. That's KJ 30 a game. Because that's the best defense we can do. It's KJ playing 30 a game.
Yeah, probably.
No,
I mean, I could give you a different answer and say like it's 27, but I mean,
No, I mean that's it.
Yeah.
That's if what you said is what you want, like that's the prescription. I mean, I'm not necessarily completely disagreeing with you, but that's what it looks like. And are you?
It's not. I don't think this plan that I'm laying out for you is like a fanciful idea of like, oh yeah, what are you smoking? They are playing elite defense. If you want to point to the K-State game and say what happened there, fine, you can take it. Look at their numbers. Look at their defensive efficiency. Look at what teams do trying to score inside against this team. They are an elite defensive team. Full stop.
It's because Hunter's an elite defender.
Rim
Hunter's
protector.
elite rim protector.
He's gotten a lot better. Not gonna
I
lie.
was
He's defended way better.
I was so off him at the end of the Iowa State game.
What? I was so off him.
I was just done with him. I was done with Hunter at the end of Iowa State.
A lot of people were.
Yeah.
He responded well. He played good.
He responded really well. Though Iowa State, like, I don't know, like, do people not figured out like Hunter kind of is who he like? He wouldn't be at Kansas if he was like who they think he is, because I still think they think he's like should be Wilt Chamberlain out there. It's like it's just like not gonna be the case. Though the Iowa State one was frustrating on a lot of dudes, including Hunter. And like DeJuan, and the leadership to me has been an issue kind of with this team. If we're going to go there with the big three, and that's Juan, KJ, and Hunter, and like letting them come out flat, except for KJ, I guess. But then it's like KJ wants to be the guy. So then he takes like shots that are indefensible at times. And it's just like, they have not, to me, had like the leadership in the way that they've come out in a lot of games like that. That's where I've seen it.
Nick,
it's cost them to lose.
It sounds like you are comfortable with the Nick, KJ, and Hunter nucleus. Live or die by what we got, and try to figure out what's around it. But for what you have described and what Mike just said, I think that's right.
Right?
It's those three, live and live by those three, die by those three the rest of the season.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess yes, but it's only because there is no second door to open. That's it.
There's like 4 other doors they can.
No, there's not. They don't exist. They only exist in your mind. They only exist. They do not exist in reality. There are no other doors.
Yes, there are.
Oh, come on. No, they're not. There are not. There is a 0% chance of any of those guys like not being in the core the rest of the way.
The core?
No, I think you're right on the core.
But I'm just saying 30 is just why. When the offense struggles, the offense is definitely better without him. I think he'd be really good, really effective at just a little bit of a smaller volume. That's really it.
Off the bench and just being like instant energy, just crazy all up in people.
They could have used it against K-State. They really could have used it. I think they got gassed in the second half too, especially in the front court.
The funniest outcome would be that when KJ like returns, and by the way, when is he coming back? Do we know?
He's not playing this week, is the latest I heard. But Bill Self said something to the effect of, he's probably going to be out a little while, but with KJ, you never know, implying that he'll play hurt or he'll cover fast or whatever.
The funniest possible outcome is that KJ comes back. He does play less. He plays like 23 minutes a game, but it's only because we're going Hunter and Flory together for 30 minutes a night.
With Shaq.
And this floor spacing issues
and
still
DeJuan.
exist. Yeah, it's just like, no, we don't give a shit about offense. Like, we're just trying to be a great defensive team now.
No, the funniest is he comes back and just because he's separated his shoulder, again, here we are again, gets the rookie of the year and automatically is able to make 3-pointers.
I was going to say, what if he plays less and then he's like great offensively? They try to play him more and he can't do it.
Quick twitch, yeah.
Twitch, like pow, 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 just 3-pointers for everywhere.
We're going to form a circle around KJ. Be unstoppable. A KJ-like Mike moment. KJ Rowan Gardner.
I just love the fact that we get a Henry Rowan Gardner reference every episode.
Every episode.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what do we like? They've been a little better in conference play. Like you've seen some signs, I think, but you've also seen like this regression at times. The 3 steps forward, like 2 steps back. Do we think it has been 3 forward, 2 back, or 3 back, 2 forward? Have they been improving in conference play? All right, fine.
I have to address this comment. Is talking about me saying the doors didn't exist, of not going with DeJuan, Hunter, and KJ as your core. And somebody said, is the fact that those doors don't exist make you feel good? Isn't that an adaptability thing for Bill? Okay. Anybody who's having this take, by the way, I want you to quit stopping short of what you're trying to allude to, because it feels like everyone is dancing around the idea that they don't want Bill Self as the coach anymore. So if you're going to say it, just say it. If you're going to hint at it, just say it. Tell me. I want to hear you say it. Like, call your shot. Tell me that Bill is not the guy to lead an elite program in 2024, 2025. Like, say it. Is anybody willing to say it? Is anybody willing to sit here right now and say you'd rather have a different coach leading Kansas?
I think there are people willing to say it. I'm not one
I think so too.
But I think you can also question every coach, because that's what you do.
I mean, like I said, you can expect.
You should play different guys sometimes. Like you can,
because this shit's annoying. This shit's annoying because people want to dance around this idea in this idea of like, I have a take, like, oh, hey, I'm willing to say. Then say it. Stop hinting at it that like you don't think this guy's gonna get the job done. That you would rather have. You want TJ Altenberger? Who wants TJ Altenberger being announced as the next Kansas head coach in June? Anybody want that?
Hold on here. Actually, I might take the bait on that. And I want Bill to be the coach. But in my head, you're not going to like this. In my head, I'm like, we don't have that many years left. If I can get a guaranteed like guy that I think is pretty good, I'm kind of like, I don't want it to end that way. But if we're talking like less than 3 years, I want 50 years of more Bill, and Otts seems like a maniac. So that's cool. But like, no, but that's not your point.
I'm just looking at Nick's face right now.
How many more? Here's a comment. How many more years of this version of KU would it take, Nick? Infinite. I dread the day KU has to form a coaching search to go find the next guy.
Well, I do too.
That's fair.
That's why I said I take Otts, because I'm so risk averse. But it is a terrifying thought. It doesn't always get better. Look at Nebraska football. Look at Indiana basketball.
But
it doesn't.
Okay, fine.
There's no. This is not a given. I know. You. What were you going to say? Because you were.
It's the same shit Chiefs fans do with Andy Reid, and they'll say like, "Hey, like he's the best. Like, hey, we all love Andy, but his late game, his clock management issues, like timeout call, short yardage situations. Man, he could get better."
People can have faults, Nick. Like people can.
Of course they can. But this is the same shit though, Kevin. Like saying that like he's not perfect as if it's like some sort of profound take. No shit. Andy Reid's not good at short yardage situations. But sometimes like you just have to like he's the best. So you live with his shortcomings. You live with his faults. And you just hope that over the course of 2 decades, you'll come out on the right end more often than you don't.
Sure.
So this idea that like, hey, he's not impervious to making mistakes. I know that. I know. Neither is Andy Reid, but he's got a bunch of rings, and so does Bill Self. So you just live and die with it. You live and die with whatever the good and the bad are. The idea that like we have to sit here and be like, well, guys, he's not perfect. We know. By the way, and it's not a unique take because people have been saying it for the past decade. I remember in 2015, Kelly Oubre, they went down to Orlando and played Michigan State in that Wide World of Sports Classic. They won by 6. Kelly Oubre's freshman year, he played 6 minutes. And afterwards, people were saying, Bill is just so stubborn he's great, but he's just so stubborn with these wings. So the next time you say it, just know you're the 16,000th person to say it. And Bill Self's got, 3 Final Fours and a natty since then. Like, I'm just not interested in this conversation anymore.
You're not wrong on all that, but just one small point. Like, it's a little bit of a false equivalency. It would almost be like if the NFL got rid of the salary cap or got rid of free agency. Like some crazy thing happens in the NFL that just completely flips the sport on its head. That's what happened in the portal era, for the record. Like, we saw every coach retire. Something has fundamentally changed about college basketball in the last 2 or 3 years. Like, that's unquestionable. Now, would I still prefer Bill Self to be the guy, even in that era? Yes, I would. Yes, I would, because he's proven he can go get it, and we've got money, and we should be very well suited for this era. But has it worked out great yet? No, not yet. Like, I wanted to. I want to see it happen. But for people to say, is this a little different? Do I want a new coach? No. But has he proven that he can navigate this as well as, he has in the past? Not yet. I think that's fair. And until he, let's see it. Like, put the pieces together and show us.
Would
I
you
don't want him to be the guy? But
would you not say that this is nearly identical to the conversations we had in 2013 at the beginning of KU going all in on the one and done era, when they bring in Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid? Then the next year it's Cliff Alexander and Kelly Oubre. The next year it's Shaq Diallo. And for those 3 years, what do we see? Bad basketball. Bad basketball. And what were the conversations? I don't know if Bill Self's great at having these rosters filled with talented freshmen because they don't. And then what happened? He fucking figured it out like he always has. And that is why I have faith that even if it's not good this year and it wasn't good last year, that like he'll figure it out because he always does.
Do you think Margot Robbie's husband can complain a little bit about his wife?
Not publicly. Like if you
Well,
met
that's 'cause
him
they're
in
married.
but I'm saying if you met him in public,
but we're in
and
the
you were
family.
Sitting, no, if you
We're
were
in the
sitting,
family.
if you were sitting in an airport bar next to him, and he's like, "Yeah, she's just man, you don't live with her," and you're like, "What? She's like the most beautiful woman on the planet. She's super talented," and he's like, "Yeah, but." He's like, she's got a kind of a weird laugh sometimes, and she gets kind of obnoxious when she's had too much to drink, and she steals covers at night. Are you going to sit there and lend a sympathetic ear and say like, oh man, yeah, I get it? Are you going to say, hey, you're a fucking moron? Everybody would switch places with you.
Yeah, that is true. Generally speaking, not specifically anyone, not us three, but it's still going to happen. That's just the nature of it. So like, it's been a weird series of years. KU's offense has been trending in the wrong direction for 3 years. People can vent a little, but it's different. Like a lot of the comments were kind of like, whoa, I'm not saying I want a gun. I just want a little bit of a, like bring some spice into our marriage. Like, maybe a different offensive coach. I don't know. I want to say outrageous shit. No, I'm not going to. But like, bring in a third. Who knows?
Bring another assistant in. We need a special assistant.
We need another assistant. And maybe it's Nick. Short for GM.
What do you guys think KU's record is right now if they only had 6 coaches?
The exact same.
I want to say
not a damn
really?
thing change. I don't think a damn thing changes. You think they're better?
Yeah, less cooks in the kitchen. Everybody's voice is a little louder.
Better question. Who do you think the assistant is who has been tasked or with trying to unscrew up AJ? Like Bill Self obviously rips him. And then, after practice, the assistant pro X or assistant coach X goes up and tries to actually work it out. Who's the right person for that?
Someone guessed Dooley.
It's got to be one of the younger guys.
It's not
right?
Joe Dooley.
It's got to be one of the younger guys. It's got to be like Case or Buford.
Yeah. Case feels right.
I think Case or Norm. Norm's been around.
But Norm works with the bigs.
It's got to be.
Then probably Case.
Case. I really want it to be Doc Sadler so bad. Like Doc just walks in like, all right, AJ. All right, here's what you need to know.
I would love to hear what those guys actually think about Doc Sadler.
Like who?
Who's that? Yeah. It's like Scott Drew coming in to wish Svi good luck, and Svi's like, "Who the fuck is that guy?" And then he was like, "That's Baylor's coach." He was like, "Why is he here?" That's like my favorite story. Okay, that Foggy says Chase Buford talking to AJ Store after every game. I gotta think Chase Buford's like ripping his hair out on the bench watching this offense, right? Like that's what it feels like. Because that dude won a lot of games as a head coach, and he doesn't get. I don't think he's got like the offense is the exact. This is a Kansas basketball team. Like he's not running this show. It's got to be a little painful. It's got to kill him a little inside.
Sorry, which coach are we talking about now?
Chase Buford.
I can't keep track. I'm sorry. Wait, you think Chase
It's your
Buford's
coworker.
like? You think Chase Buford's like I deserve more say?
Hour than following.
No.
I'm
No, no, no,
Chase
no, no.
fucking Buford. Do they know who
First of
I
all-
am?
Actually,
Dude.
there's something to that. Do you know who I am?
I think, like, dude won two championships in Australia, the G League title. I don't think he's saying I should have more of a say. I think he knew exactly what he was walking into. I just think it probably like makes him want to rip his hair out. Like that's more of what I'm saying. Like it kills him a little inside. I
will-
can't imagine he's
So
like.
you don't think Chase?
They love him in
Buford's like-
Australia.
You don't think he's got a group chat with his buddies? Who's like, I should be running the fucking show.
No,
Bill's in over his head.
I don't think he's a fucking idiot.
It's time for him to
And
step
I think you'd
aside.
have to be an idiot to be putting that in writing anywhere.
I will say, Bill Self. I think it was after K-State. Someone asked him about the, hey, you started Flory, and he goes, yeah. It was no question. And he goes, well, what do you mean no question? Like, what do you mean by that? He's like, if you look at the analytics, Flory is number one on all of our analytical like top.
Oh, dude, I love that. He's just like,
And I
he's
was
the
like-
best at our analytics.
Whoa, wait a minute. We have analytics Bill Self like making an appearance. Like, how far can we take that?
He's a big points. He's a big points per possession guy, is my understanding.
Cool.
That's what he looks at.
We should read that a lot then. Like, let's pull it up. Because
Probably.
I think we can make a few changes if that's true.
I
Bill-
do too.
Bill strikes me as the ideal guy of like, all the former coaches who get on ESPN and they say, there's a place for analytics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just like uses them when he feels like it.
Right.
Fits the narrative.
It's 97
like-
vibes, 3 analytics.
I hate like writing too much about analytics, so I try to like work the narrative into it. You can't rely on that alone because that'll get you into trouble too. But at the same time, I do watch the season looking like Chase Buford after his meltdown sometimes, and that's him. Which, by the way, Google Chase Buford meltdown if you haven't seen it before, because it's awesome.
And hey
just
guys,
wanted
we'll
to throw that
say the Jayhawks have won 4 out of 5 games.
That's what I'm saying. Like, have they gone forward
true.
or back?
Their 4 wins are against something called
Fuck.
Central Florida, Arizona State,
Yeah,
Cincinnati, and
yeah,
Kansas State. But
yeah.
that's 4 out of 5. We got TCU on Wednesday, boys. TCU not great. Doesn't really score the ball. Should be right up our alley from a basketball matchup standpoint. But however, they did beat Baylor. I think didn't they beat Baylor on Sunday? Yeah, they beat
Yeah.
Baylor.
To that point, spin zone, the Big 12 is so big now, there's only like 6 good teams anymore anyway. Like you get to play UCF again, you get to play K-State again. Oklahoma State's bad, Colorado's bad. So we'll get to do this again, hopefully. There'll be like a 4-game stretch where they just throttle these teams who are not going to sniff the postseason, and we're going to say, hey, good teams beat bad teams,
How
right?
did the SEC turn into the Big 12?
Money,
I guess so.
100%. They have it. Like that was it. They hired some good coaches too, but it's just they got the cash, and now like it's more. I mean, like it's just open season, and someone commented like money. I think it was Foggy. Like NIL hasn't changed how Bill Self is coached. I actually think it has. I think this year it has, and I think you see it with AJ Store. And I've heard that there's been like a sense of pressure to make it work with him.
He would never play
Right.
in any other context.
Right. It's
He
it's
played
money
way
trying to make it work.
freaking Rylan this last game, and it made no sense whatsoever. Right?
They had a weird lineup.
They tried to go big.
They had
against
some
K-State.
weird lineups against K-State. There was one lineup where it was like Diggy,
Oh my
Shaq,
God.
Zeke, Store, and Flory.
I think it was Passmore. I think it was Rakis.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I felt
you're right.
bad. Like I'm like, what chance are you giving Rakis putting him out with like that lineup too? Like everyone else, it's just like AJ and Rylan are going with the starters and steady guys, and then it's just like, all right, you five go now, and then it doesn't work. It's just like I didn't even get a fucking chance.
We need a platoon. Just go full platoon.
So after the first platoon, we're down by 6. After the second platoon, we're down by 18. Love it.
Oh fuck! Like platoon it,
And then
Why
afterwards,
do
hey,
you
when
do
they do,
that?
Platoon.
hey, platoon system's gonna fuck your love for single game plus minus.
No, it'll be platoon plus minus. We're gonna figure out which platoon's better real quick.
I think you know, by the way, because the bench hasn't been good, and that gets back to Nick's point of it being make it undeniable. Fuck.
How is it that the bench
So-
isn't though? This is the thing that drives me crazy.
All right, that's true.
How is it? How do we not have a bench somehow? Like, what are we doing?
It's
Well,
'cause they're all-
technically, I mean, we
they're all
do.
mind fucked. Play mind games, get mind fucked, and that's what happened.
Ah,
Now I'm complaining about Bill. Now I'm complaining about Margot Robbie.
it's just
Why?
You guys remember when KU beat Duke? When KJ
I
shut
was
down
there.
Cooper Flag?
I was there as rad.
I was
That was
also
sick.
there. It was rad.
If they played again, Duke's like a double-digit favorite.
Right.
Probably.
And that's kind of where it's like, yeah, they haven't really gone forward. And so KU plays Houston this week at TCU, and then Houston at home. TCU just beat Baylor on the road today. And Duke would win by 20, someone says. It is like the confidence in KU fans has kind of been alarming to me. It's like going to play at Iowa State and everyone's like, yeah, probably not winning that one. Like, I don't think many people were that confident going in. Anyways, so like, do you expect? I don't know. Like, do you expect 2-0 this week? Like, you can't, right?
I expect 2-0 this week.
Houston at home at TCU.
I think we win the TCU game with no problem.
Yeah, we're gonna blitz them and be fucking hyped for Houston.
Ernie Uday revenge game. Come on.
I'm
Yeah.
not,
2-0.
have you guys watched much of Houston?
What have we watched much Houston?
Yeah,
Was that the question?
Yeah.
No, but what I saw, they weren't the same
I'm not convinced.
without Shed. Yeah, neither am I.
I'm not
I
convinced.
watched them. I haven't watched them since non-con when they lost to Auburn and
They lost a
Bama.
bunch. Yeah, they lost a couple games. I mean, those are two good teams, obviously, but I mean, they played UCF to a 1-point game this weekend. Same team that we beat by 50. So, I mean, yeah, obviously that's weird, right? Because they beat West Virginia. They throttled K-State. Houston did, but I don't know. I think their wins have been by a bunch, so they're computer trickers, and I'm just not convinced. They're
Ken Palm on Fraud Watch
yeah, totally. I don't think they're as good as the third team in Kansas.
again.
They're like what KU fans want to be. Like, be good at defense and have a great offense.
They are good at defense.
Do they shoot threes?
Historically, yes.
Yes, they do.
Huh.
And,
Huh.
and they're also averaging 40% from three as a team, which isn't bad. And
They probably shoot free throws too.
and by that I mean they're the third best.
Yeah, dude, they do everything well. They're like one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country. They're pretty good across the board.
Can anyone explain KU being the worst free throw rate team in the country? They get to the free throw line the least of anyone.
They don't want
Is that explicable? Like, explicable. Can anyone explain that? It's just like, what a combination of dudes that like you don't have to foul
It's
and,
kind of hard
and
to
or
get
don't seek.
You have 4 defenders in there, and
Right. Yep. They're playing in. They're not behind guys.
was on their jersey.
They can't get their shoulders past.
I have a take. So, have you guys noticed how Hunter, like a lot of times on entry passes, when somebody's driving baseline, he'll catch it up here above his head, and then it just goes straight up with it, and it actually is kind of impressive. Like, this is what makes him very good.
Very impressive.
But we got to stop that. He needs to start
Bring
doing
it
the opposite of what coaches teach. Bring it down. Maybe put the ball in the deck once, so he can.
He's
drive
like
up
skilled
into-
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to drive up into defenders, start getting to the line.
That kills me.
That is a take.
You guys
Yeah,
got any
no.
better ideas?
Not really. No.
Hunter's not my issue. We've talked about this before. Like, look at him against K-State. That's pretty clear. When he wasn't being triple teamed.
It's a pretty good. That's a pretty good hill to die on. They're like,
It's like your
are
Bill
all
Self.
Americans not the problem?
I'm in group texts that are just all the way out on Hunter. I just don't get it. And it's like his defense has gotten quite a bit better. I just don't think like that's the problem. The guy who does score and rebound.
It's because he's not exciting.
He's not Wilt. No,
He's not exciting.
And when he
He's
fucks
just
up,
got
it's like
like
the
he's
worst way
7'2".
possible.
Yeah,
He's got 7'2". He's got good touch. He gets rebounds because he's 7'2". Like, that's why people hate on him, because it's not fun to watch. Effective, not exciting.
He's all narrative. It's all
Yes.
narrative at this point. It has nothing to do with what he's doing on the basketball court.
If KU was 16-2, nobody would talk about Hunter.
People are like, he's
Like, as a
soft. I'm like,
problem.
people not remember this guy playing like 38 minutes a game last year and play in the tournament like really injured.
He is a little soft.
He plays kind of soft, but I don't think he is soft.
Well, I mean, that's kind of one and the same, isn't it, though?
No.
When you're a basketball player, how you play does kind of determine if you're soft. Like, if you play soft, but he's not soft, no. I mean, he's kind of soft. Come on.
Well, KJ plays hard, but is he soft? And who is hard? Not me. Not watching this team.
Hunter letting Iowa State grab the offensive rebound and kick it out for a 3, that's soft.
He's got reels that really hurt him. To Mike's point, when he screws up, he really screws up.
Or just like the most maddening way.
Energy.
But also, he missed it, and then Diggy ran to the wrong guy. Diggy was like next to the dude who made the 3 and went the other way.
I think he was running.
He was running.
That's the maddest. That like in a short sample size, that was the maddest I've been all season.
The Iowa State game was the maddest. Mizzou game was maybe the maddest I've been. But I was surprised as to how agitated I was in the Iowa State game. It really agitated me.
Because every possession in Ames feels like the fate of the world is at stake. It's so frustrating to watch a team play there and lose there.
I've never seen him lose there, and I've been there 7 times. I've never seen KU lose. So it's my fault that I wasn't there. Real quick, though, on that game, the thing that was wild, and we talk about Bill Self, losing the last 2 minutes so badly in the first half and at the end of the game felt a little Leipold-y to me. I don't know.
It's been Leipold-y.
It's been
Lance Leipold is like fired up about this KU basketball season.
it's been a little Leipold-y. I was kind of hoping that other Kevin was going to be on to give us a take from Kelly's perspective about it. But
Oh man.
Lance,
Oh, I'd kill for that.
me too. This is amazing.
but that was the difference in the game was that that tiny stretch. I mean, the end of half was just baffling, and then I mean, just it wasn't even like guys screwed up. It just shit happened. I mean, some of it was screwing up, but just that was pretty rough to see that happen. Usually, it's KU who's able to kind of be the composed team, and we weren't.
I mean, like, it's kind of been that. That's just kind of how it's been.
Yeah.
Or even like, I don't know. I need to look at who's on the court. Well, Juan was bad that game.
Bad.
Wow, Brian is pissed that you put words in his mouth about wanting Bill fired. Nick, apologize to Brian.
What is it, guys? You can't say. What is he talking? I don't know what he's referring to.
I don't know. We complained about something. I'm guessing.
I think he's talking about how I said that
Oh,
Lance is he's a little the last. I mean, he little Leipold in the K-State game. Got up,
God.
come back.
here's the difference. He won.
They won though.
They won, and they win most of the time.
They did win.
And Lance, Bill.
You guys want to wrap up?
All right. Someone asked a question. I saved it. More likely that KU makes the Sweet 16 or lose round 1. I want to change that because I know where we're all going to fall. Elite 8 or lose round 1. More likely that KU makes the Elite 8 or loses round 1.
I think Elite 8.
I'm just seeing the question about the blow by. Tang's blow by.
All right. Okay. I'll say Elite 8 too. I think they're good enough in experience enough to get past it. Should we talk about the blow by?
Yeah, I'll say Elite 8 as well. Yeah. I can't. It's so funny thinking about last year, you tweeting the term blow by every day for 3 weeks as if it was a commonly used phrase.
I died on the blow by hill and I still would.
Wait,
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Was there another blow by? Was there another blow by on Saturday?
You haven't seen it?
No.
Yeah, there was a blow by, but it wasn't as bad as the year before. And that's what no one has. Oh, he blew right by him. It was right on camera. Watch the end of the broadcast. ESPN was on it, or CBS. Of course, it was CBS. CBS had him.
And another blow by from Jerome Tang.
This is what he does, Jim. I don't know, Jim. I went Tony Romo. I don't know, Jim.
Wait, there was another blow by.
Handshake. It was a quick handshake, but it wasn't as bad as last year.
So on the blow by meter, this was what, a 7?
7.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6.9.
Is Tang okay? Are we?
No.
Is he in trouble? Is the seat warm?
I mean, it should be. Yeah, I think they're pissed. I think they're pissed about the money and the way it was spent, and then the results, and like.
Who am I, by the way?
These guys.
KU.
Yeah, these guys have done some wild shit. The staff, like accusing Iowa State of filming the huddle, and then which is wild. And then, they leaked that all over. There's no the sources suddenly came out from everywhere about this. And Otts talked about the assistant coach cussing out their managers. So they leaked that everywhere. And
Shoes off on the plane.
Shoes off, disgusting, gross. And they're just
really
Jerome
well.
Tang is on Fraud Watch.
The shtick works really well when you're winning. The shtick does not work at all. It goes complete. You lose the entire.
No, that's why you have to be normal. You have to be normal at all times, because when you're winning, you're quirky and fun, and then when you start losing, you're a fucking weirdo.
Correct.
And that's
100%.
Maybe
where Jerome Tang is.
Les Miles is eating grass. People are like, oh, look at that guy.
Maybe riding at the president's house shouldn't have happened. seemed like a stretch. Kind of like they did some wild shit the last 2
forgot
years.
about that. Yeah.
You know,
Wild.
I'd be remiss if we ended this episode without giving a shout out to Brad Nessler on the call on Saturday, who said after Rakeem Passmore's second missed three, Passmore for three. Well, that's his second miss in a row. Maybe he should pass more.
Good one.
You know that guy, when the schedule came out back in August, like, hey, we got a KU game, and he starts going through the roster. He's like, I can't wait for this guy to miss a couple fucking shots. I'm gonna be on his ass.
Hey, you think he's doing preseason prep on KU? Guy's pro. He's flying in, looking at the roster sheet. Like,
Passmore was until after he shot the second three. First of all,
he looks down. He's like, Passmore.
that was total impact 101.
I don't know, Jim.
Yeah, the other guy had
Blew by him.
the other guy had to yes and, but all he wanted to do was puke. He was like, Jesus, I gotta work with this guy.
Oh god,
You gotta blow by him.
I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on the blow-bys.
I hope one day I'll get to release or find the blow by.
What if I told you?
There's evidence out there.
What if I told you that after the blowout, there was a blow-by?
After Silvio's stool. You imagine if Tang was the coach when that happened, by the way? Be way different than Bruce. God, they've had two losers. All right.
Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go to sleep.
Fixed or fucked?
Fixed. Right? We don't end an episode without fixing Kansas. Football, basketball, doesn't matter.
That's true. We fixed. We got it.
Yeah.
We got it out. We talked about Margot.
Shout out to everybody listening. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the full episodes on YouTube. Mac, Mike, pleasure as always. Until next time.
It's great to be back. Rock chalk.